Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is obviously the sequel to, Beetlejuice, a movie that came out in 1988. Yeah, good 36 years between the two movies. Like that's a lot. God damn. That's a whole lot. So yeah, this movie's been a long time coming, let's just say that. So the original Beetlejuice was directed by Tim Burton, starred Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. And this movie, it wasn't a huge hit back, when it was released, even like back then with standards as low as they were, like to the point where say a 20 million opening looked like out of this world, when nowadays, depending on the movie, it either looks really good or really horrific. But yeah, Beetlejuice was still a decent little hit, made like 75 million on a budget of 15 million. That's not bad. The movie was well received, gained a huge cult following, and literally 1 year after this movie, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton did Batman, which became one of the biggest movies of the era, pretty much. And which would lead to Batman Returns in 1992, which I found out, I didn't realize this, but Batman Returns was the only other sequel Tim Burton made besides Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. He's only made two sequels. And the gap between those sequels is literally over 30 years. Like it's crazy. But yeah, so Beetlejuice was a nice little hit back in the 80s, spawned a big cult following. The idea of a Beetlejuice 2 went on for years and years and years. There's a very popular version of it. I think it was Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. That's like the main canceled Beetlejuice sequel that's known. And it was very stop start until eventually they're like, you know what? No more waiting around. We're going to make this thing. And they did. Even with the strikes and everything, they still made it. And here we are. So, yeah, I say Beetlejuice, its reputation, its legacy, I say is rock solid. And that definitely helps this movie. So the original Beetlejuice, I'm going to label that as a pro. Okay, another pro. Tim Burton. I just realized I've never really dove deep into a Tim Burton movie on this channel, at least when it comes to my box office predictions. I've never talked about a Tim Burton movie ever. So this is my chance to talk about the man. I'm really excited. But yeah, Tim Burton, this man, he's made some movies, man. Some very interesting movies. So yeah, Beetlejuice is not his first movie. His first movie was actually Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which was about Pee-wee Herman. Then after that, he made a lot of very interesting movies that have a certain style to them. Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes, Big Fish, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride, Sweeney Todd, Alice in Wonderland, Dark Shadows, Frankenweenie, His Big Eyes, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Dumbo, and Beetlejuice. So a decent amount of these movies have a really solid reputation. I mean, some of them, okay, Ed Wood was a bomb financially, but people still really like that movie. And Mars Attacks has an interesting reputation where it wasn't a huge hit either, but it has its fans. But this man, Tim Burton, he's made some hits. That first Batman movie, Batman Returns didn't do as well, but it was still a nice hit. Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes, even though he hated that movie to the point where if he was asked to make a sequel, he'd rather jump out a window. He actually said that. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a huge hit, even though that movie's kind of controversial amongst people who like the original, even though technically this version is more accurate to the book. But and plus it's a movie I love because I saw it as a kid, so it's a childhood favorite of mine. Even though I rewatched some clips like last year, and I'm like, damn, this movie's fucked up. This movie's kind of dark. I didn't realize that as a kid. Yeah, yeah. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride was a hit. That has its fans. Sweeney Todd has its fans. Alice in Wonderland wasn't a great movie. It was a good looking movie, but it wasn't that great. But it didn't matter because this was the biggest hit of Tim Burton's career, made over $1 billion, mainly because this was during that 3D craze of like, post Avatar 3D craze. And this was the first movie that, since Avatar to, go all in on 3D. So it definitely benefited from that. But it was an enormous success. And I guess Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I mean, it did all right. It didn't do terrible. Dumbo. That I'm pretty sure most of you forgot about the Dumbo remake. I know I did, and that had Michael Keaton in it. Fun fact. So that's another like collaboration between Burton and Keaton, and it it wasn't like a flop, but it didn't do good. I wouldn't say it did good at all. It was a complete underperformer in a year where Disney dominated everything. This was like one of their only real L's of that whole year. Not like it really mattered in the grand scheme of things, but still. But yeah, I'd say Tim Burton, in terms of like box office and critical reception, I say his reputation is pretty darn good. He's had some flops in here, like Dark Shadows. Frankenweenie was an underperformer, despite people really liking that movie. Big Eyes, no one even remembers Big Eyes. And besides, those, his track record is, I say, is rock solid. He definitely has a reputation for making some very interesting, very weird movies. He's known for. I looked at his Wikipedia page a little while ago and saying like he's basically his movies kind of create like this like goth style. That's how it was described, and I'm like, yeah, I would definitely agree. It's very like dark gothic style that a lot of his movies have, which I really like. So yeah, Tim Burton, like his name value, I say that is an absolute pro in my eyes. So that's pro number two. Pro number three, okay, our cast. Obviously, we gotta talk about one Michael Keaton, Mr. Beetlejuice himself. I mean, this man has done a lot. So let's go through his track record. Before Beetlejuice, he was mainly known for being like, I guess it was Mr. Mom back in the 80s, the early 80s. They did Beetlejuice. And then Batman. Apparently back then, people were like, this Michael Keaton guy, Batman? Like, people just didn't really see it. People didn't really see him as Batman. But when he put on that cape and cowl, people actually saw him, people were like, okay, he works. He works as Batman. So yeah, Batman Returns, a whole lot of nothing really important. I guess there's Jackie Brown, which was an early. I think this is like this is one of Quentin Tarantino's movies, but it didn't do that great. I don't even know what Out of Sight is. There's Jack Frost, which was a flop. Yeah, not a whole lot going on after that. There's like White Noise, Herbie, Fully Loaded, Cars. Oh yeah, he was in Car. He voiced Chick Hicks, the car with the mustache, the green car with a mustache. That was him. Was it him? It has to be him. It is him, the car with a mustache. Amazing. And then he voiced Ken in Toy Story 3, which was great too. He's also in the other guys, RoboCop. But all these were like supporting roles. Birdman, though, that was important. Okay, that right there, that movie brought him back to the spotlight, brought him back to being relevant, like being people like really paying attention to him. Like it was a big comeback movie, which is fitting because that's what the movie's about, more or less. The Michael Keaton's character, his daughter Emma Stone in the movie, how she's like, "You're not relevant anymore. No one cares about you anymore," and that's like a whole big part of that movie. So yeah, Birdman. I think did he win the Oscar? I think maybe. I'm not confident to say like he did win, but I will check. Did he win? He didn't win. Well, damn. I thought he won. Well, I was wrong. But he did get nominated though. But I mean, the movie did win Best Picture, so yeah, and it is a great movie, really strong movie, and it has the basically the illusion of being like one take, which is a really cool style. It's probably not for everyone, but I really like that style. Anywho, after that, it's Spotlight, which was another Oscar movie. The Founder, which no one really cared about. Then he went back to superhero movies. He was the Vulture in Spider-Man: Homecoming, arguably one of the better MCU villains, if you ask me. And that movie was a huge hit. It's American Assassin, which no one really remembers. There's Dumbo, which I already talked about. Protege, no one cares. Morbius, oh no, Morbius. This man, I don't even think he was like there when because he appeared in the post credit scene. One if easily one of the worst post credit scenes in movie history, where he just like shows up. I don't even think he was there in person. I think he just did some like voice. He just like voiced him like off screen, like with ADR or something, like to meet with Morbius to like stop. I think it was talk about Spider Man, but I'm like, Spider Man doesn't exist in the more. Well, it's because the whole multiverse thing. It's a mess. It's a disaster. But yeah, he has a credit here, and then the Flash. Oof. Okay, I will talk about more about the Flash later because it's important to talk about it because what happened to the Flash made me a little worried about Beetlejuice for a while, but obviously that worries all for nothing. But yeah, Michael Keaton, like he's made a decent amount of movies. Everyone knows who he is. He's definitely going to be the big draw here, reprising his role as Beetlejuice. But that's not all. We also got Winona. Winona. Oh, I cannot say her name, man. Winona Ryder, who also was in the original Beetlejuice, reprising her role as Lila Dietz. And let's talk about Winona Ryder. She's been in some movies too. There's Heathers, which became like a cult classic. Became like Heathers the musical. A musical, like one of the few musicals I can really get into. I literally listen to the the soundtrack of said musical like every so often because it's that good. After that, Edward Scissorhands, there's Bram Stoker's Dracula, there's Little Women from like 1994, Alien Resurrection, and then things got weird here after Mr. D's because I think she got arrested for shoplifting. I think she had like I remember it was like she hired a bunch of people to do shoplifting. I'm just like, you're rich. Why do you need to do this? I don't know what was going through her head. It was weird, but that pretty much derailed her career for a long time. I mean, I guess we can count like Star Trek. I don't think she was barely in that movie. At least I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was barely in that. It's Black Swan. I don't. Was she in Black Swan? I'm trying to remember her. I don't. This Beth McIntyre. I think that's like. I'm starting to remember now. Natalie Portman's character, like she won. It was like this veteran ballerina. I guess we're just gonna call her that. like, this older ballerina who, like, I guess Natalie Portman, like, kind of wants to be like. I think that's who she was. It's Frankenweenie. Then it's not listed here, obviously, because it wasn't a movie, but Stranger Things. That revived her career. Absolutely. Her being in Stranger Things, one of the biggest TV shows of all time. Netflix's premiere show, their flagship show at this point. And now here she is in Beetlejuice. So, because of Stranger Things, everyone knows about Winona Ryder again. But that's not all. See, with a movie like this, that's like a sequel to like a 36-year-old movie, you're probably, I guess the main worry is like, oh my gosh, is anyone even going to remember this thing? Like, how are we going to get young people who did not grow up on Beetlejuice, to care about this movie? They give a shit. Like, how do we draw those people in? And so they figured, okay, how about we get a young person, someone who appeals to like the Gen Z crowd. We get an actor like that, and then the young people might be interested. Enter Jenna Ortega as this young person right here who plays Winona Ryder's daughter in the movie. But yeah, Jenna Ortega. I've talked about her before. I will talk about her again. Yeah, so she's been around for a minute. She was in a Disney Channel show, which I had no idea about, so that kind of shocked me. But yeah, she was in Scream 5 in 2022. As the sister of like the main, I guess, yeah, the main character. And Scream 5 was a hit. It's not listed here because, again, it wasn't a movie, but it's another Netflix show you probably know about. It's a little show called Wednesday that came out in late 2022, which was directed by Tim Burton. See, there's a lot of connections going on here. But as you know, Wednesday was huge. I remember that show. It was big. Everyone was talking about it. I didn't watch it, but everyone was talking about it, had a ton of attention. Is one of Netflix's biggest shows of all time. And that shot Jenna Ortega into the stratosphere. Because of Scream 6. Scream 6 definitely benefited from her Wednesday exposure. And Scream 6 ended up doing quite a bit better than Scream 5. And it probably would have continued with Scream 7 if that movie didn't completely disintegrate. So, yeah. Just like Miller's Girl, but no one cared about that. No one even watched it. And now here she is again, Beetlejuice. So, Jenna Ortega's presence, knowing how popular she is with like the young crowd, having her here is a good thing because it broadens the audience just a little bit. That way it's not just, people who grew up on the original Beetlejuice. Right? You need more than that if you want a movie like this to succeed. So having her here, I say, is a pro. Definitely. There's other notable people here as well. You got Willem Dafoe. He's here. Absolute legend. Known for, his acting roles and memes, because he is something of a scientist himself. I had to make that reference. Like, come on. It's so easy. But he's been in a lot of movies, so we're just going to go through them rapid fire. The Splatoon. Trying to find, like, the relevant ones. It's Born on the 4th of July, I guess. There's Clear and Present Danger. Speed 2, Cruise Control. That thing, I'm not going to call it a gem, because it's very much not that. Boondock Saints, which had, like, barely any release, became had a big cult following later on. He was in American Psycho, Spider-Man, Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. Absolute classic role right there. Well, so he voiced in Finding Nemo as one of the fish, a gill, which is kind of weird to think about. Is that The Spider-Man 2 was basically a cameo in those movies, like Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. The Aviator, there's Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Yes, Zizzo. You know, Wes Anderson flick. A lot of these are mostly like supporting roles. So yeah, and a decent amount of them are Wes Anderson movies. There's Finding Dory, there's Fallen Our Stars, there's Murder on the Orient Express. There's oh god, did he voice a character in Justice? I think he did. No, I think he just appeared in Justice League. Yeah, I know he appeared in Aquaman. He was like Aquaman's like mentor. There's The Lighthouse. Keep going. Spider-Man: No Way Home, where he reprised his role as Norman Osborn. He was probably the best part of that movie. A lot of supporting roles here, and now here he is in Beetlejuice. So, and soon to be in Nosferatu on Christmas. yeah, yeah. Willem Dafoe's presence, which is never a bad thing. Yeah, Catherine O'Hara. I should talk about her. I mean, she was in the original Beetlejuice too. Yep, she was the mother of Winona Ryder's character. But yeah, wait, was she Kevin's mom in Home Alone? I'm pretty sure she was. I will look this up myself to make sure because I don't want to be wrong. Uh, yeah. Let me see. Yep, it is Kevin's mom. Who realizes she's like, oh damn, I left my kid alone after like going on a freaking plane. Like, so that iconic, moment in that movie. Yeah, that was Kevin's mom. So yeah, Home Alone 2. Just gonna keep scrolling up. Nothing of serious note after that. This is Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. That's a movie I like. I know a lot of people don't like all that much. Oh, she voiced DJ's mom in Monster House. I did not know that. It's Over the Hedge. Okay. Where the Wild Things Are. Oh, okay. There's Frank and Winnie, Tim Burton, another Tim Burton movie represented. The Addams Family. It's shocking that Tim Burton never made an Addams Family movie. He would have been like, well, he did Wednesday, but you think he would have made a movie, right? He's such a perfect fit with the material, and it just never happened. So I don't know. I just find that kind of interesting. So yeah, Catherine O'Hara. Who else do we got? We got Monica Bellucci, Justin Thoros. But yeah, the cast here is pretty solid. So I'll label all the cast, mainly Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Jenna Ortega. Those three, I would label them as pros. Another pro is that, man, the box office recently has been real weak. Like, it's after Alien Romulus came out, things just tanked. Like, it's just been a whole lot of nothing at the box office. Unless you really like Deadpool and Wolverine, there was some slim pickings going on. So, yeah, people have been waiting to see a big movie for a minute now. And because pretty much all the August movies are dead, this gives the movie the perfect time to shine. Because it doesn't have to deal with anything serious. And next week, it doesn't have to deal with anything serious either. The week after that, you have Transformers 1, which I don't think is direct competition, but it might probably steal some screens. Then you got Wild Robot after that. Really, there won't be anything serious harming this movie until Joker 2, which is also from Warner Brothers. That's like in October. So this movie has time to play out. Hell, honestly, it could play out all through Halloween, really, the type of movie this is. even though there will be direct competition, with Smile 2, but that's a long ways away. So yeah, lack of real competition and just a weak marketplace. I will label that both of those things as pros. So that's another pro. Reviews for this movie are pretty solid. They're not like amazing or anything, but they're solid enough. Has a 77% critic score, 84% audience score, which isn't like spectacular, but it's not like awful. And cinema scores a B plus, which is fine. Alien Romulus also got a B plus. So yeah, word of mouth is solid. Not amazing, not terrible, but solid across the board. So that's a pro. Another pro is that this movie, like Warner Brothers, they are not holding back with this movie. Not only have they been pushing this movie real hard, like advertising wise, marketing wise, but they have given this the one of the widest releases for any movie ever, like in terms of theaters. Like damn near 4,600. It, from what I've seen, it is tied Toy Story 4 as the seventh widest release of all time. So Warner Brothers are not playing any games here, and they really shouldn't be playing games since the summer was horrible for them. Like it was nonstop flops, with the sole exception of like Trap. But it was a rough time for WB, especially since this year started out so hot for them with Doom Part 2 and Godzilla X Kong, and then it just went so terribly wrong during summer. But this movie has a damn good chance of erasing all those L's they made and during the summer. So yeah, marketing for this movie, the fact that it has such a wide release, got labeled as a pro. Another pro is that its Thursday previews are looking really good, 13 million. Although it's technically some Wednesday and Thursday previews like combined, so you kind of have to put like an asterisk beside that number. But it's a good sign, really good sign. It's one of the best of the whole year. The only movies I've done better are Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out 2, and that's it. That is literally it. It's the same number as Inside Out 2. Will it open on the same level? Absolutely not. But it's still a really solid sign. It's a strong sign of success. I mean, it did better than Doom Part 2 and Twisters and, I guess Five Nights at Freddy's last year. So, yeah, I'd say Beetlejuice is in a great position in terms of like preview numbers. So, yeah, strong preview numbers. That's a pro. If I mentioned I think I've mentioned every pro I could. Okay, cons. This really isn't relevant now, but the big fear I had for this movie is that, would the nostalgia play work? Because Warner Brothers tried to do the same thing with The Flash, as you know. Where in The Flash, one of the big selling points is that Michael Keaton's Batman is back, right? And I remember to this day, when I saw the Flash trailer, I looked through that comment section. Damn near every comment was talking about, Michael Keaton's Batman's return. Oh, this is my childhood. Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped to see him. All these positive comments about Michael Keaton's Batman gives you this false impression that means, all these people are going to see this movie, right? Everyone's going to watch the movie because of Michael Keaton's Batman, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Okay? The Flash, as you know, was one of the biggest failures of not just last year, but in movie history. An absolute catastrophe financially for a multitude of reasons. Michael Keaton was not one of those reasons, but yeah, so the failure of the Flash made me think, okay, you know, so it seemed like people who were seemingly hyped to see Michael Keaton's Batman again didn't really want to pay to see him as Batman again. So what chance Does that leave Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Will people willing to pay to see Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice again? Obviously, the answer to that is yes. But yeah, with the Flash, that kind of set like alarm bells ringing. But obviously, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice doesn't have the same issues as the Flash, where the Flash was part of an aborted cinematic universe that never really caught on, and the fact that that movie had a main star who's known for being a menace to society. So yeah, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice doesn't have to worry about that. It's something I wanted to note because that was like the big one of the biggest issues with this movie for me in terms of like I guess success or potential success was what happened with the Flash. So yeah, just I guess at the time it would be a con, the nostalgia play, but obviously it's not an issue anymore. Um, I can't think of any other cons. I can't think of anything that could sink this movie. I mean, I guess that you could say, oh, well, it's been 36 years. And yeah, 36 years is a long ass time. I'm not denying that. But you know what else took 36 years to come out? Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. And that movie ended up being one of the biggest hits of all time. So sometimes, a long ass gap between movies isn't detrimental, but it depends on what movie it is. Like if it's a movie that no one remembers from back then, you make a sequel like today, it's not going to do well. It needs to be a movie that either did well back then or has like a really really strong cult following, because that's the only way these like sequels, these long away sequels really work, right? And Top Gun Maverick, it worked for that movie, and it seems like it's gonna work for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2. So yeah, in this case, like a long wait time isn't hurting this movie one bit. So I guess sometimes it does. So depends on the movie and how much interest there is. So I guess that's a con, but not in this case. I think that's it now. Yeah, so opening weekend, this movie was projected to hit like I think it was like 80 million like a while ago, and now it's projected to hit like 100 million. And the numbers I'm seeing is like 90s, so it's kind of a wide range going on. I feel I don't know. It could hit 100 million. If it does, it'll be only the second September movie to do so. The first being It, chapter one, which I forgot to mention. This movie's coming out post Labor Day, and Warner Brothers have a strong history with that date because they released the first It movie um, at that time in 2017. That movie changed everything for September movies because that movie it broke the record for September its first day. Not even the whole weekend, just its first day opened to over 120 million. Everyone was like, what the hell is going on? It was so shocking. And then with It Chapter 2 didn't do as well, but still opened like 90 something $1 million, which is, as said, again, incredible for September standards. And September is historically one of the weakest months of the whole year. Some say it is the weakest month of the whole year. So for this movie to open with over 100 million, that would be swell. Absolutely swell. And I think I'm going to go with a wide range, 90 to 100 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it hit triple digits. So I'm going to go with that. And its total, its legs should be okay, probably average legs. I'm going to go, depends on like how, I don't know how front loaded this movie is really going to be. I don't know. I'm going to say 250. I'm going to be like, just 250 million domestic. I'm going to go with that. And that's it for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. But there's one more movie coming out this weekend. Yeah, a movie decided to open up against Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. That movie is The Front Room, which I can't imagine it won't take me too long to talk about that movie. So stay tuned for that one. And I'm just glad there's only 2 movies to talk about, because last week I had to do 6. That was miserable. So just 2 movies, that's a godsend. So yay. There's less work. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year, the past few years. You can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't for like 250 episodes. I talked about Beetlejuice. Well, it wasn't called that at the time. It was just Beetlejuice 2. I talked about that with episode 189, where it got its 2024 release date. So, yeah, I talked about that one time. And you want to watch any of my other cancel episodes, go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. August recap, that will be next week. My September recap will be at least 2 weeks after that. So really 3 weeks from now, roughly. Yeah. That'll be like a two-parter. Yeah, it'll be a two-parter. So yeah, stay tuned for those videos as well. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.